Today's topic, government debt default. In a previous video, I mentioned that the world is on a de-dollarization binge, dumping their US T-bonds at an unprecedented rate. And I explained that since no one else around the world wants to buy these T-bonds, the Federal Reserve must buy them back. At the same time, the Federal Reserve's balance sheet has been declining, also known as QT or quantitative tightening. So the question to ask is, how is it possible that their balance sheet is declining while at the same time they have to buy those billions of dollars of T-bonds? While you're thinking about this question, the topic for today is government debt default. Did you know that historically every society that has used fiat money has eventually defaulted? Did you know that in the past 100 years, about 98% of the world's countries have defaulted on their debt, government bonds, when their GDP to debt ratio has reached or exceeded 130%? As these countries' debt to GDP rose, so did their inflation. And statistically, it's almost certain, inevitable, that any country that reaches 130% of debt to GDP, their currency will fail. Sovereign debt, bankruptcy. Which brings me to the question, is it possible that the United States can avoid default when its debt to GDP has reached 130% in 2020? At the same time, the United States inflation has increased to at least 8% or higher, depending on who you listen to, and I covered real inflation in a previous video. So remember, inflation is another signal for government default trigger. So back to the Federal Reserve. If the Federal Reserve continues to print money to cover their de-dollarization, and if they continue to monetize government debt, inflation is in the cards for our future, and more to the point, U.S. and global inflationary depression. In my next video, I will discuss what the world's countries are spending on when they sell their de-dollarized U.S. T-bonds.